One of my favorite times of the week, we get to check in with someone who watches the world of California politics and just California in general, issues confronting the state and the state legislatures. He joins us live now, Jeremy B. White. He's author of the California Playbook on Politico's website, and there's always good stuff there. I always tell people to Google it, find it, and then subscribe to it, and you'll be able to see so much of what's going on in California beyond just the politics. In fact, Jeremy, I wanted to first of all, you did a cool thing about the new legislative session, and I'll get to that. But I wanted to ask you about what's happening in Los Angeles. I mean, they have numbers that are pretty grim when it comes to spikes in infectious disease, and they're considering these mask mandates again. Isn't that fair to say?
I don't know how serious that mask mandate consideration is. We did see the top health official there sort of musing that we could be on that path. I do think it is safe to say, though, that we are now in sort of the phase of this cycle that is seemingly going to be a recurring thing, which is that we're just going to see these spikes often tied to the winter. And so we're obviously in that now. You see the statewide rate going up as well as in particular areas of the state.
I like your hoodie, Jeremy, by the way.
Jeremy's
Thanks.
cool, man. Jeremy is really cool. By the way, I want to note something that I was just informed of. That the question I asked about, did Jeremy receive a link from us? Because Jeremy's very punctual and very... he didn't receive it because
I did not mean to besmirch his reputation. That was 100% me. I lied. I'm a liar.
You did misrepresent, John. You kind of...
Whoever is producing this thing has no idea what they're doing.
I did come clean.
I think a simple apology will work. I don't need you to, self-flagellate, but I needed a simple apology for...
I apologize to Jeremy and the Mark Thompson Show community.
All right.
And I wanted to apologize to the Asian community, the Asian American community.
All right, Jeremy, let's continue now. I want to tell... So you think it's just so much... I don't want to say posturing, but it's just discussion around the mask mandate and around these new health figures. That's the real issue. But you think it very possible that nothing will be done in terms of an actual new mask mandate down there.
Sorry, try me again on that, Mark.
Just the fact you were just saying you just don't know how seriously they actually are going to get into a mask mandate. There are discussions around it, but you think there's just too much pushback from the public? Is that your instinct on it? And businesses?
I think also part of what public health officials are considering when they look at a mask mandate is not just infection rates, which are unquestionably going up, but factors like hospitalizations and deaths. And so, not having followed with as much precision as some of the reporters in LA, the specific LA debate, I think it is certainly safe to say that we are seeing spikes in not just COVID, but respiratory disease and the flu. And, even as vaccination has widely taken hold, I think we see that the rates are still going up pretty much every winter. And that may just be the reality that we live with for a while.
Yeah, it would appear so. So I mentioned the piece you did about the state legislature, and one of the things I learned, there were a few things I learned in the pieces in the California Playbook, is the idea that there is we think of it. This is sort of this state of California run by Democrats. They can push through whatever they want. You allude in the Playbook to the fact that, getting coalitions within the overall coalition is sort of what the game of politics is in California. At least that's what I took in part. And that was an insight into the legislature, if indeed, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but if indeed that's the case, that was an insight that I think really speaks to the complexities of the Democratic Party in California.
It's not possible, I think, to elect as many Democrats as California does, particularly in the legislature where they have 2/3 plus margins and have for a while, without getting a lot of variation. And the types of Democrats who can win and the issues that are important to their constituents in areas like the Central Valley or, Riverside, sort of eastern, inland Southern California, are often just going to look different from what you see in, San Francisco. And A lot of that is California is a big, diverse place economically, geographically, in terms of sort of income distribution. So, that's been the case for a while, and really that sort of tension between different wings of the Democratic Party in a lot of ways is the key fault line in California politics, more so than between Republicans and Democrats.
Yeah, and as you say, it's been the case for a while, and so I am embarrassed to say that I never really focused on it. And you make reference to it. I thought, God, he's so right about that. That there's just these Newsom pushes back against members of his own party when it comes to they're bringing this this gas. It's really it's a gouging type. The notion that there are fuel price gouges going on around California, this is being brought up in the legislature. And you make the point that, Newsom is particularly sensitive to, I think you said, sort of the notion that there are members of the legislature who are in the pocket of big oil or in the pocket of, this is even I'm sure there are accusations that Newsom's in the pocket of, PG&E and others. So I wonder if you could speak to that for a moment, because that was a front and center issue, I know, for Governor Newsom, even as they really couldn't get much done in this sort of early session.
I think interest group influence is really, and where people fall on different issues is again, sort of one of the main ways that you can differentiate different Democrats from one another, given that they all belong to the same party. What it really comes down to is where people fall on specific issues like the environment, labor regulations, that type of thing. Generally speaking, you will see that California Democrats are pretty on the same page on social issues when it comes to things like abortion or LGBTQ rights, even gun control. I think it's more of sort of the economic issues in which you tend to see that divergence more so. And I think that's true sort of at every level of government.
And on the homelessness issue, and I'm always struck by the limitations of the state legislature to address homelessness, or the governor's office to address homelessness for that matter. It seems to be so often an issue that's handled by municipalities and cities, but nonetheless, it comes around as a big deal in Sacramento.
Certainly, and I think that's one where there is pretty broad recognition that it is a problem, and I think you have even seen more recognition recently that the amount of money that the state has spent has not, or the state and various local governments has not been in and of itself sufficient to make a notable difference. I think it's not hard to sort of walk down the street and see that. So that is one where I don't know that there's quite as much sort of ideological diversity on the issue among Democrats, but it's certainly a major issue for the state.
The other thing, the other place where there may not be an ideological difference is when it comes to some of these cultural issues to which you've alluded. There's a sense of a homophobia that's growing. You've got the Supreme Court cases now. You've got a national conversation about abortion in ways because of that Supreme Court case. And California becomes this bastion of, I would suggest, it's a weird thing to say because I feel as though it should be so much across the entire country, but cultural enlightenment, and I'm talking about the culture, the social culture, and I'm wondering how important that is. If the legislature in California, if various political figures feel compelled, if you will, to step up on this issue. On these issues.
I think when it comes to social issues, like I said, that's one where Democrats tend to be very much on the same page. And there's certainly a lot of desire to maintain and expand California's role as sort of a haven when it comes to gay rights or abortion access. So that's something that I think the party tends to be on the same page on.
Last thing before I let you go, I wanted to ask you about this is the workings of the legislature that we don't necessarily follow the way you do. It's done now, or when does it close down for the holidays, and when does it reconvene?
Yeah, so the legislature is officially in session. New members were sworn in on Monday. They've started introducing bills, but essentially they don't really get to work until January. That's when we will see an initial budget proposal and folks introduce more bills. And then there's sort of a bit of a waiting period before you can vote on those bills. So things really get going in terms of those bills getting voted on and rejected or passing committees in the spring. So it's really more sort of the initial moves at this point.
What happens to the California Playbook people? Do you guys take a break also?
We take a short one around the holidays, but just a short one.
John, could you, and I don't know if I can count on you for anything anymore, John, but could you please get Jeremy's address so we can send him a piece of coveted Mark Thompson Show merch. Would you do that, please? All right. I'm so grateful. Jeremy, I say this, it's so very true. I know KGO collapsed and that you came over to us here and continue to offer information and critical information as the legislature unfolds and as California issues unfold. I'm so very grateful. So thank you, my friend.
I appreciate you guys.
Okay. See you, Jeremy B. White, everybody.
Bye, Jeremy B. White.
Yeah. Love it, love it, love it.